1-inch guidance? Xiao Yan raised his eyebrows. The origin qi in his body surged, and his soul energy surged out from between his eyebrows. He carefully observed his surroundings. Then, he looked at Shen Shuiwei. The latter's expression was the same as usual, and his eyes were filled with different colors. To be honest, Ling Long's strength is really mediocre. You're actually not his match. This is quite disappointing. Shen Shuiwei took a step forward. There wasn't a trace of qi leaking out from his body. His eyes were calm as he spoke slowly. Disappointed? What does this have to do with you? Xiao Yan sneered. Unknowingly, a few drops of sweat rolled down his forehead. However, the future is promising. Shen Shuiwei raised his head slightly and revealed a strange smile. Then he stretched out his hand and waved at Xiao Yan. Come, let me see your strength. Hong! Just as his voice faded, Xiao Yan had already rushed over like a meteor. Without saying anything, his fist was like a dragon, and 4 colored flames covered it. The origin qi exploded with a loud bang, and the air hissed. It had the power to shatter mountains and rivers. Kai! Xiao Yan's expression was grave. He clenched his steel teeth tightly and attacked Shen Suyu's chest. Although the latter did not emit a trace of his aura, that invisible pressure caused him to feel extremely irritated. Even when faced with the heavenly sovereign aura, he was still indifferent. At this moment, there was actually a trace of panic. Buzz! Buzz! The space let out a soft hiss as the monarch flame wrapped around him. Its strength was so great that it was comparable to a monarch cultivation's full-strength attack. The combination of yin and yang and the origin qi mixed together. Among them, even an expert at Chang Yi's level did not dare to compete with it. Clang! Shen Shuiwei did not say a word. His feet stomped on the cliff, and his body jumped up like a cannonball. The golden origin qi around his body was like a rainbow, and it condensed into 100,000 feet bright light. It whistled down, and like numerous sharp blades, it covered the entire area like a torrential rain. In an instant, the entire world seemed to tremble, and numerous mountains turned into ashes, flying towards Xiao Yan who was within it. Clang! The fist collided with the sharp blade. A huge pain that penetrated deep into the bone marrow suddenly spread throughout his body. Xiao Yan took a deep breath. 4 colored flames soared into the sky from all over his body, blocking the rainstorm like sharp blades from the flames. Only then did he have a chance to catch his breath. Shen Suyu's eyes lit up, and he let out a surprised cry. He looked down at the 4 colored flames surrounding Xiao Yan, and he remained silent. No one knew what he was thinking. This guy is terrifyingly strong. Although he didn't fight Shen Shuiwei, Xiao Yan could still determine the strength of the former in an instant. With just this casual killing move, he wasn't any weaker than a true monarch cultivation. Xiao Yan was confident that with his current strength, even if he didn't use the monarch flame, he would still be able to fight an ordinary monarch cultivation. However, when he faced Shen Shuiwei, he actually felt a sense of helplessness. This kind of feeling had not been felt for a long time. Xiao Yan, this guy has been hiding his true strength in the past. The Xiao Ao's voice sounded in his mind. He could also sense Shen Suyu's strength. From the beginning until the end, the latter did not reveal any aura. It was like a deep abyss that no one could see through. I know, Xiao Yan nodded silently. He lifted his head and faced the dazzling sharp blades that filled the sky. He looked at Shen Shuiwei who was standing in the void. His entire body was shining with a golden light. He looked like a god overlooking the world. This holy arts is a meeting gift. With a slight smile, Shen Shuiwei raised his palm. A black and golden light suddenly appeared in his palm. It was less than a foot long. It contained a force that caused the space to tremble. True Yuan flash. A long howl that sounded like a chant was heard from Shen Suyu's mouth. In the next moment, Shen Shuiwei gently waved his palm, and in an instant, it was as if he had pierced through the sky. Strong gales howled and swept up endless evil energy. The ground where Xiao Yan was standing instantly turned into powder, and layers after layers of strong gales swept over, wanting to smash him into pieces. Azure Dragon slaying firmament. The sudden violent energy was boundless. Xiao Yan gritted his teeth and let out a long roar. Then, he turned into an azure dragon. The dragon's roar spread in all directions. A green dragon spiraled in the wind that swept across the sky and shook the sky. Shen Suyu's eyes flickered. He let out a stern shout and rushed forward. He extended his arms and seemed to have pierced through all directions. He threw a punch at Xiao Yan without any fancy moves. In the blink of an eye, he had sent out thousands of punches. Boom! 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 Xiao Yan didn't have time to catch his breath. He stretched his dragon body and transformed into his human form. In an instant, he clashed with Shen Shuiwei. Like an azure dragon's roar, his fist pierced through the strong wind. The origin chi exploded, and golden blood splashed in all directions. In an instant, they had clashed with each other. Kai! The two fists slammed down with 10 explosions. A black shadow was sent flying. The golden blood rolled down and sank deep into the ground. In the sky, Shen Shuiwei stretched his body. His thumb swept across the corner of his mouth. He glanced at the faint blood at the tip of his finger and laughed lightly before wiping it away. It's quite strong. My heavenly weapon robe has been destroyed. After tearing the tattered golden robe and throwing it away, Shen Shuiwei laughed loudly. Golden light emerged from his eyes and shot out like 2 beams of light, crashing into the ground where Xiao Yan had fallen. Hong! A loud bang was heard. The ground exploded with a loud bang. Xiao Yan's body was like a shooting star, dodging the 2 golden lights and reappearing in the void in front of Shen Shuiwei once again. Xiao Yan, now you know the difference between us. Looking at Xiao Yan, who was breathing heavily in front of him, Shen Shuiwei chuckled. His voice was still calm. I'm not dead yet. The situation in his body was circulating crazily, healing his injuries. Xiao Yan's expression was cold. He spat out the blood in his mouth, and 4 flames quietly surged up from his fingertips. Under the control of his soul power, they slowly merged together. Like I said, the future is bright. I won't kill you. That would be too boring. I've been awake for more than 10 years. Other than him, I haven't found a suitable opponent. Perhaps you can in the future. Shen Shuiwei shook his head and said slowly. Wake up, you are also an ancient monster that was reborn from the Heaven Divine Mountain? Xiao Yan sneered and said, It's true that it's an ancient monster, but it's not an ancient monster. Shen Shuiwei revealed a mysterious smile and retracted his high combat intent. My real name is Shen Shuiwei, not Shen Shuiwei. Do you understand what I mean? Shen Shuiwei stared at the surprised Xiao Yan and suddenly changed his tone. Shen Shuiwei. Xiao Yan was startled. He looked at the mysterious smile on Shen Suyu's face, and as if he had thought of something, his heart jumped to his throat. According to the detailed introduction of the Mingan divine domain that he had obtained from the Star Moon Island, the place where the Star Domain Guardian lived in Star Moon Spirit Domain was called Heaven, and the place where the protector of the Mingan divine domain lived was called the Bright Divine Domain. Both of them had the same nature, and they were both mysterious places. No one knew where they were, but they were looking down on all living beings, guarding the final piece. The Bright Divine Domain was different from the Heaven. It was the master of the Bright Divine Domain, which was also the domain lord of the Mingan Divine Domain. It was rumored that he had experienced the chaotic era of the Soul Demon, and he had seen the supreme existence of the Yin-Yang Divine Lord's faction. He had been in the Bright Divine Domain for millions of years, and had never made a move. Although it was unknown whether the person was dead or alive, unlike the domain lord of the Star Domain, there was no definite death information. Therefore, even though the Heaven Divine Mountain was located in the Mingan Divine Domain, there were not many experts who came here to start a world-shaking war. And according to the rumors, other than the existence of the Bright Divine Domain, the other people, including the Yin-Yang Saint Lord, didn't have the surname, God. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that this was the surname of a family. 5 inches the domain lord of Mingan Divine Domain. Is your father? Xiao Yan stared at Shen Shuiwei and spoke word by word. His heart was in turmoil. He had guessed Shen Suyu's background, but he had never thought that Shen Shuiwei would have such a powerful background. That's right. Shen Shuiwei nodded slightly, then the corner of his mouth curled up. He is currently in a death seclusion. Otherwise, the ancient sovereign's rebirth will definitely attract his attention. At that time, I'm afraid it will be a lot more lively. Xiao Yan pursed his lips, feeling extremely shocked in his heart. Then, as if he had thought of something, he said in a soft voice. Your father is the domain lord, so he must know about the soul demon. Soul demon. It's a Gu Wu, right? I didn't expect you to even know about this. Shen Shuiwei gave Xiao Yan a deep look and said in a deep voice, They have awakened. Not long after I woke up, the people of the heavens in the star domain sent this news to me. There are a few forbidden areas in the Mingan divine domain that might be related to the soul demon. A few great guardians have been secretly observing them. Guardians. Xiao Yan muttered softly. He couldn't help but raise his head to look at the sky, as if he wanted to find the location of the bright divine domain. Don't waste your energy. The bright divine domain is an independent spatial zone. Even a true supreme saint wouldn't be able to sense it. Shen Shuiwei grinned when he saw Xiao Yan's action. Then, his eyes sparkled. He looked into the distance and said, Xiao Yan, I suggest you go to battle domain. You can only understand what a real battle is, and only then can your strength grow faster. After saying that, Shen Shuiwei pretended to leave, but he paused and said, By the way, let me remind you. In battle domain, as long as you have the strength, you can do anything you want. But before you have the strength, don't provoke two people. One of them is called Sang Yu and the other is called Zan Wu. After saying that, Shen Shuiwei looked into the distance. The corner of his mouth curled up slightly, and his body disappeared in an instant. Swoosh! The four-colored flame on his fingertip dissipated. Xiao Yan remained silent, and allowed Shen Shuiwei to leave. Every word that Shen Shuiwei said before he left echoed in his mind like a clap of thunder. I'm afraid his strength isn't any weaker than Profound Emperor's. After a long time, the heavy voice of the Xiaoao resounded in Xiao Yan's mind. Although the two of them didn't really fight, each and every move of Shen Shuiwei was filled with a majestic feeling. His combat experience and consciousness weren't any weaker than an old monarch cultivation monster. He was born in the ancient era. He should have been sealed during the chaos of the soul demon. Apart from that, I can't think of any other dangers that could threaten the bright divine domain. Xiao Yan's expression was solemn as he voiced out his thoughts. When the soul demon was wreaking havoc, even the domain lord might die. It was perfectly normal for Shen Shuiwei to be sealed at this time. The bright divine domain is equivalent to the heavens of the star domain. I'm afraid there are countless holy arts. It's acceptable to have such an achievement. After a pause, Xiao Yan let out a bitter laugh. His starlight silent step came from the heavens. One can imagine how abundant the resources in bright divine domain would be. Comparisons between men are really infuriating. Upon hearing this, the Xiaoao could only smack his lips. Compared to Shen Shuiwei, Xiao Yan was like a poor kid. The cultivation resources that the two of them possessed could not even be mentioned in the same breath. Swoosh! As soon as it finished speaking, a rainbow light rushed over. Xiao Yan raised his eyes and saw Profound Emperor's figure appearing right in front of him. What's going on here? Seeing the surrounding mountains collapse, Profound Emperor frowned and said in a deep voice. He exchanged a few blows with an opponent. Xiao Yan forced a smile and said as the injuries in his body stabilized. What opponent? Is it the Heavenly Gone sect or the Deacon sect? Profound Emperor's facial expression changed. His eyes swept across the surroundings. He had ambushed Chang Yi and Lu Junyuan here. If these two forces found out about this, even he would be in endless trouble. He has no interest in these things. He has already left. Xiao Yan sighed. In Mingan divine domain, those who didn't put Heavenly Gone sect and Deacon sect in their eyes were nothing. There's only bright divine domain left. Upon hearing this, Profound Emperor only lightly nodded his head and didn't ask any further questions. Come with me to the Deacon sect after we leave. Xiao Yan was just about to heave a sigh of relief when Profound Emperor's voice sounded once again. There was no joy or anger in his voice. Going to Deacon sect? Xiao Yan was startled. He frowned slightly and looked at Profound Emperor. Are you crazy? If the people of the Deacon sect found out about this, I'm afraid we won't be able to stay in the Mingan divine domain any longer. After going through so many things, Xiao Yan's respect for Profound Emperor had turned into something he could talk about. I have to go to the Deacon sect. I have seen it before. The Yin scroll on Chang Yi's body isn't complete. Compared to Lu Junyuan's Yang scroll, there is still a huge difference. After saying that, Profound Emperor couldn't help but grit his teeth. These old things are all cunning and cunning. Xiao Yan raised his brows but didn't agree immediately. This was different from ambushing Chang Yi and Lu Junyuan. Their opponents were only two monarch cultivation warriors, and there were countless experts in Deacon sect. No one knew how many experts were on par with Profound Emperor, not to mention the terrifying strength of the old ancestor that Chang Yi mentioned. I say, don't think about escaping at the last minute. Heaven's surmounting monarch told me to protect you and leave my sight. How can I protect you? Seeing this, Profound Emperor laughed and patted Xiao Yan's shoulder. After that, he flew out of Heaven Divine Mountain. Behind him, Xiao Yan's face twitched. He helplessly patted his forehead and followed after him. Who knew if Profound Emperor still had the ability to care about him after going to the Deacon sect? In the northern mountain town, ever since the departure of countless people a few days ago, only a few scattered people had left this place. Many of the people behind had ugly expressions on their faces as they left. Obviously, they didn't get anything from the competition for the discipleship to enter the Heaven Divine Mountain. It's finally over. When we return, let's have a good drink with our wives and children. The sandstorm swept past and wiped away the sand on their faces. The bearded Yu Shan narrowed his eyes and looked towards the distant north. That was the center of Deacon Prefecture and also where the Deacon sect was located. After the ceremony at the God Mountain worship ceremony had ended, his work had finally been completed. I heard that the Battle of the Saints this time is very lively. I'll ask the elders of my sect when I get back. He recalled that nearly half a month ago, the Saintess of Deacon sect killed the Saint of the Heavenly Gone sect. 4 handsome white Suan knees pulled the golden ancient chariot and returned from Heaven Divine Mountain with a great victory. Many powerful experts of Deacon sect came out to welcome them, which made the northern mountain town very prosperous. As the deacon of Deacon sect, he naturally had a bright expression on his face. Although the two sects share the same origin, the Yin scroll is obviously stronger than the Yang scroll. Yu Shan praised sincerely. He looked in the direction of the Heaven Divine Mountain, and 2 bright lights suddenly flashed. Immediately after that, 2 figures rushed towards them. There are still people coming out. Yu Shan muttered softly. He didn't dare to show any neglect. The strength of these 2 men was clearly far greater than his. Although there were many elite warriors of Deacon sect here, they still had to show proper etiquette. Yu Shan went forward alone. When the 2 men approached, he cupped his fists and said in a clear voice, "Greetings, my lords." "Let's go." A faint voice sounded. Before Yu Shan could recover his senses, the 2 figures had already disappeared from his sight. They did not stop for even a moment. The 2 of them did not even see their appearances clearly. "Are you in a hurry to reincarnate?" After cursing in a low voice, Yu Shan walked back in a bad mood. He glared at his subordinates below and coldly snorted as he entered his own house. "I thought you were going to make a move, so I wanted to remind you." After leaving the northern mountain town, Xiao Yan let out a light sigh. There are a lot of powerful warriors in the northern mountain town. I won't make a move just to avoid being remembered. Profound Emperor's voice was flat. Our trip this time will be unnoticed. Even if they manage to find out the truth, they will come to Capital of Chaos if they have the ability. We will see who is the winner. Xiao Yan smiled bitterly when he heard this. After following Profound Emperor for so many days, he had become more and more like a rogue. The Deacon Prefecture was where the Deacon sect was located. It was famous across the entire Mingan Divine Domain. It was also known as the Heaven and Earth Prefecture along with the Heaven Gone Prefecture. No matter how prosperous it was or how strong its foundation was, it was a unique existence in the Mingan Divine Domain. With the Heaven Divine Mountain as the dividing line, the Deacon Prefecture was located on the north side of the Heaven Divine Mountain. The cold wind that blew out from the Heaven Divine Mountain blew across the vast land along the way. The force dispersed and blew into every city of the Deacon Prefecture, leaving only a trace of refreshing feeling. The Deacon City was where the Deacon sect was located. The entire prefecture was mainly occupied by the Deacon City. The other cities were like stars that surrounded the 4 corners of the city. The accumulation of countless years seemed to have solidified, firmly wrapping the city within. It had an aura that could last for eons. My luck is soaring to the sky. Sacred Lord Yin Yang has been dead for so many years, but he still has this kind of aura. The Deacon sect in the distance was like a desolate giant beast crawling on the ground. It stretched on endlessly, and the ancient buildings in the city were lined up in rows. The tall towers that were hundreds of thousands of meters tall seemed to reach to the sky. The entire city was extremely imposing, and the majestic fate that could be seen with the naked eye filled every part of the city. Under Profound Emperor's lead, the 2 of them landed 100 miles away from Deacon City. They were greeted by numerous official paths that were connected in all directions. People were coming and going. This fully portrayed the demeanor of the top city in Mingan divine domain. The ceremony of the god worship mountain has just ended. There will surely be many experts staying in the Deacon city. The people of the Deacon sect must pay attention to this as well. In case anything goes wrong, the defense of the sect will be much more relaxed. Be careful, it won't be a problem for us to sneak in. At this moment, there was no trace of chi coming out from Profound Emperor's body. He looked no different from an ordinary rough man. Xiao Yan had the concealing technique in soul power, so it was easier for him to hide his aura. As the two of them were walking on the official road, they did not attract anyone's attention. I know, Xiao Yan let out a light sigh and looked around. On both sides of the official road, there was a group of elite guards from the Deacon sect every few hundred steps. Their movements were uniform, obviously incomparable to ordinary guards. With the strength of their feet, they arrived outside of the Deacon in just the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Looking at this ancient city that was tainted with history from a close distance, Xiao Yan could not help but exclaim. Although it had only been a few 100,000 years, the amount of resources it contained was something that even a heavenly sovereign would not dare to underestimate. Ever since the end of the era where the soul demon was wreaking havoc, in the history of nearly 1,000,000 years, only Yin Yang's sacred lord, a supreme being who was invincible in this era, had emerged. Everything that was related to him had reached its peak. The era before the soul demon wreaked havoc had been far too long ago. Many inheritances had been buried in that era. All the legends that had happened after that had been recorded in greater detail. As for the Yin Yang Saint Lord, he was the existence that was worth reading the most in the past 1,000,000 years. There were even mighty figures that had experienced the era of Sacred Lord Yin Yang that said that if Sacred Lord Yin Yang was born in the era of Soul Demon Chaos, the 9 disciples of the Soul Demon were not simply sealed. Thinking of all kinds of legends, Xiao Yan followed Profound Emperor and slowly entered Deacon City in the crowd. The guards on both sides of the city gate did not question him. In the headquarters of the Deacon sect, no one had the courage to behave atrociously here. Upon entering the city gate, the bustling scene in front of him stunned Xiao Yan. He couldn't think of anything. After staying in the Heaven Divine Mountain for so many days, he wasn't used to seeing such a bustling scene. Let's go this way. Profound Emperor seemed to have been here many times. His eyes swept across the surroundings. He pulled Xiao Yan's sleeve and walked towards a certain direction. Xiao Yan recovered his senses and squeezed through the crowded crowd. Through the rows of buildings, he could vaguely see a grand palace hidden in the clouds in the distance. To be precise, Deacon City is the Deacon sect. Looking down from the sky, the layout of the city was very strange. However, if you have seen this city before, you will understand. The two cities were like yin and yang, complementing each other. It had to be said that Sacred Lord Yin Yang's mastery of yin and yang had reached the level where he could move his heart at will. I'm afraid he has already touched that layer of nothingness. Profound Emperor's deep voice sounded by his ear. Xiao Yan couldn't help but look up. Due to the existence of layers of restrictions, no one was able to walk in the sky above the city. The entire city was majestic and majestic. If it's that powerful, why did it fall? Upon hearing this, Xiao Yan couldn't help but ask. A heaven-defying person like this had probably surpassed the realm of saints, and was no different from a domain lord. However, the domain lord of Mingan Divine Domain, Shen Suyu's father, a supreme existence who had gone through the era of Soul Demon Rebellion, was still alive. The Divine Lord of Yin Yang had only been here for 200,000 to 300,000 years, so why had he died? This is a profound and mysterious topic of the great world. Profound Emperor shrugged his shoulders and looked at the transcendent sect that was standing far away from Fang Yun with a profound gaze. While thinking about his plan to go there, he said casually, Sacred Lord Yin Yang is at the peak of his age. He has entered the deepest part of the Heaven Divine Mountain and left his name behind. And with his strength, even if he really died, in the future, he would be able to be reborn with the heavenly bathing thunder, just like the ancient sovereign. He would be able to easily come back to life. After a pause, Profound Emperor seemed to have thought of something and said, another rumor is that Sacred Lord Yin Yang had once gone to the barbarian domain. No one knows what he had experienced, but he disappeared after that, and no one knows where he went. Some people say that his cultivation is great, and even this great world can't restrain him. There are also some who say that he was cursed by the most ancient curse of the barbarian domain. Sacred Lord Yin Yang spent his peak days in the Mingan divine domain, but there were traces of him in the middle domain, the star domain, the battle domain, and even the sacred heaven realm. My cultivation technique was obtained in the star domain. No wonder. Xiao Yan looked at Profound Emperor in shock. He finally understood why Profound Emperor was so passionate about the Yin scroll and the Yang scroll, and even went deep into the tiger's den. It turned out that he had obtained the cultivation technique of Sacred Lord Yin Yang. This kind of opportunity really made people jealous. Regarding Xiao Yan's shocked eyes, Profound Emperor's expression remained the same, as if he did not care about this matter. That ancient sovereign, what is his background? Xiao Yan pondered for a moment and spoke again. Although he had heard about the Xiaoao and the Heaven Divine Mountain, he was still in a daze when it came to the ancient dynasty. He didn't know much about it. Ancient sovereign. When Profound Emperor heard this, his calm face showed a trace of emotion for the first time. After pondering for a moment, he slowly shook his head and said, "Not sure." The history of the ancient dynasty had almost completely disappeared when the Soul Demon wreaked havoc. There are 24 emperors in the ancient dynasty. It is said that when the Soul Demon was wreaking havoc, it dug out a few corpses of ancient emperors. Controlled by a secret technique, it brought endless disasters to the human race. No one knows what happened after that. Controlling the ancient sovereign, Xiao Yan's brows twitched when he heard this. He recalled the strength of the reborn ancient sovereign in the Heaven Divine Mountain. After being controlled by the Soul Demon, his strength had increased tremendously. It was hard to imagine how he could defeat such an enemy. Now that the Soul Demon has awakened once more, this cancer is going to bring disaster to the great world. However, the ancient sovereign has been reborn, and his strength has increased greatly. Even if he can't compare to the Yin-Yang Saint Lord, he still has unparalleled strength. If the Soul Demon is thrown into chaos again, the ancient sovereign will definitely fight for the human race. Profound Emperor couldn't help but curse in a low voice when he mentioned the Soul Demon. When he heard Xiao Yan's words, he let out a bitter laugh. He could faintly feel that if the Soul Demon was thrown into chaos, perhaps the nether domain wouldn't be peaceful either. He raised his head and saw a palace standing in the depths of the clouds. There were many flowers blooming around it. There were countless pavilions, and countless ancient hall was hidden in the clouds. The inheritance of the Deacon sect that had existed for tens of thousands of years was here. At the end of Deacon City, there was a huge door that spanned dozens of miles. It was like a city wall, isolating the entire city from the outside world. Countless disciples of the Deacon sect were waiting in formation, and all of them were yelling and leaving. How are we going to get in? Xiao Yan furrowed his brows. If they forced their way in, they would be hunted down in no time. The Deacon sect has existed for so many years, and there are countless elders in the sect. Do you think that all these disciples will be able to recognize them? Profound Emperor sneered and said in a low voice. Everyone in the Deacon sect cultivates the Yin scroll. It's very difficult for others to enter this place, but it's much easier for the two of us. You and I both have Yin and Yang fused with the origin Qi, and we have also cultivated the Deacon sect's Yin scroll, secret arts. It's extremely easy to simulate the origin Qi of the Deacon sect. After saying that, Profound Emperor stretched out his palm. The origin Qi in his palm was surging violently, and a thick origin Qi was surging out. It was surrounded by a clear Qi. Soon, the origin Qi seemed to have a strange feeling. Compared to ordinary origin Qis, it was colder and more feminine. So that's how it is. Xiao Yan had gained a lot of understanding regarding the fusion of Yin and Yang origin Qis. Now that he saw Profound Emperor's actions, he nodded his head in realization. The origin Qi in his palm surged, and the toughness and fierceness within the fusion of Yin and Yang faded away, leaving behind only a touch of the purest Yin and softest origin Qi. The fusion of Yin and Yang origin Qi. It was the most perfect fusion between the strongest Yin and the softest. As for the Deacon sects cultivated by the Deacon sect, the origin Qi within their bodies had also gradually become feminine. This kind of feminine force was not weak, but it was like a continuous stream of water that was as heavy as a rock that was being penetrated by a drop of water. The secret arts in the Yin scroll naturally had a world-shaking momentum. Currently, many elders were entering and exiting the Deacon sect. No one had noticed Xiao Yan and Xiao Yan. The two of them brazenly stepped forward and displayed the feminine origin cheese in their palms. The group of disciples naturally did not dare to be neglectful as they respectfully invited the two of them in. Initially, they thought that entering the deacon sect would require a great deal of effort, but they didn't expect it to be so easy. A strange expression emerged on Xiao Yan's face, and he cast a sideways glance at Profound Emperor, who had a calm expression on his face. This bastard actually knew everything about the Yin Scroll. The deacon sect could only blame their bad luck for being targeted by such a person. Within the deacon sect, pavilions and pavilions were scattered all over the place. There was a dense layer of multicolored mist and mist that filled the air. The water gurgled under the Nine Melodies passage. Strange peaks, strange stones were carved into all kinds of shapes. Within the mist, tamed spirit beasts would appear from time to time. The luck was great, and it was like a paradise. Cheng Yi's status in the deacon sect isn't low, and he only controls half of the Yin Scroll. I wonder who will have the other half. Profound Emperor had a heavy heart. He didn't have the leisure to enjoy the scenery around him. There were many important places in the deacon sect that were protected by formations. If he were to barge in recklessly, he would surely be hunted down by countless people. Why are you thinking so much? Capture a monarch cultivation elder straight away. No matter what, you will get some benefits. Xiao Yan curled his lips and said angrily, "Do you think that monarch cultivation sovereigns are cabbages that can be caught just because you want to?" Profound Emperor let out a cold snort and looked around vigilantly. There were many powerful warriors in deacon sect, so he had to be careful when doing things. If we walk aimlessly like this, we will be discovered sooner or later. In the clouds, beams of light were flying around. Xiao Yan and Profound Emperor were wandering around like headless flies. Then let's go to the main hall. Upon hearing this, Profound Emperor stopped dawdling. A bright light flashed in his eyes, and he took the lead to fly towards the ancient hall that led to the sky. That place was the core area of deacon sect, and most of the powerful elders would be there. The Holy Yin Hall was the most important symbol of the deacon sect. After the collapse of the Yin-Yang sect, the ancient hall, which was located in the middle of a triangle with the heavenly sect's sacred Yang Palace, had been moved to this place by the combined efforts of many powerful experts of the deacon sect. After hundreds of thousands of years, it had become the spiritual pillar of countless disciples of the deacon sect. The Holy Yin Hall was like a pillar that stood between the heaven and earth, piercing through the sky, bringing a great shock to everyone. It was as black as ink, and it was filled with the vicissitudes of history. After experiencing the erosion of countless generations of wind and rain, it remained motionless. It had descended from the sky and looked down upon the vast land. Around the Holy Yin Hall, countless ancient ruins and palaces were like stars and stars, surrounding it. The multicolored light was dense, and the rainbow light was tens of thousands of meters long. It formed a mysterious and unfathomable pattern that seemed to resonate with the heaven and earth. The origin chi here was filled with the purest yin energy, and it had a natural advantage when cultivating the Yin Scroll's secret arts. There were 9 secrets to the Yin Scroll. Each secret arts could be divided into countless moves. Back then, Yin Kang had only mastered the great Yin spirit arts. With this as the trigger, he had comprehended even more detailed moves. Countless disciples of the deacon sect were cultivating with different masters. Those who had mastered one of the secret techniques were extremely talented. Naturally, they could comprehend the path of advancement from this secret, and become a supreme being. The Yin and Yang scroll shook the past and present, and Sacred Lord Yin Yang had also investigated it. Every single secret arts contained the laws of heaven and earth, as well as the variations of Yin and Yang. Being able to completely comprehend one of the secret arts was enough to make one think that it was a giant. In a bronze palace on one side of the Holy Yin Hall, countless flaming pillars stood tall. Upon closer inspection, all of these flames were grayish-black, like ice, causing one to shudder in fear. Swoosh! Suddenly, a human face appeared on top of the flames. Immediately after, the flames on both sides of the flame also appeared one by one. Elders, since you are all occupied with something, you will not be summoned. We will only discuss it here. In the flames at the top was a face full of dignity. The old man's white eyebrows shot up to the sky, but he did not look old at all. His eyes seemed to be filled with chaos. At a glance, he seemed to be able to make people sink into it. His cheeks were extremely high, and he seemed to be able to show his might without being angry. "Do as you wish, sect leader." The countless human figures within the flame below responded and were filled with respect towards the old man. The ancient emperor has revived and has gone to the Heavenly Sky sect once. Wake up all the old monsters of the Heavenly Skygate and warn the Heavenly Skygate. When it comes to the Heaven Divine Mountain, Chu Guyang has already communicated with our sect. The rebirth of the ancient sovereign was something that both the Deacon sect and the Heavenly Gon sect had to deal with. It wasn't a bad thing. On the other side of the middle domain, there should be a lot of pressure. If the three empires joined hands because of the pressure from the ancient sovereign, we can also profit from it. The old man was expressionless, and his eyes were cold. Without any hesitation, he went straight to the point. The people below listened quietly and nodded silently. They had already known about the news of the ancient sovereign's rebirth. That time, it had also awakened the Deacon sect's sect chief, who was standing in front of them. He hurriedly gathered everyone to discuss the matter for nearly a day. What does Sect Master Chu mean by this? Heaven Divine Mountain was run by Deacon sect and Heavenly Gon sect. After so many years, how can we withdraw with just a single word from the ancient sovereign? A deep voice was heard. It came from the first flame on the left side of the fire pillar. The old man in the flame was weak, like a candle in the wind, but his status in the Deacon sect was only second to the sect master, Zuo Channing. Sect Master Chu has discussed with our sect. No matter what, we won't let anyone interfere in the Heaven Divine Mountain. The old man's cold and indifferent voice sent chills down people's spine. The outcome of this battle between the saints has been decided. The next 5,000 years of meditation ceremony will be hosted by the Deacon sect. Although our sect and Chu Guyang share the same view, we still have our own thoughts when it comes to the interests of the various sects. Therefore, no mistakes must be made during the ceremony. After a pause, the old man's eyes shone with a cold light. His cold voice sounded once again. Chang Yi's life seal has been shattered. Someone has broken into the Deacon sect. Quote, 1-inch Elder Zhang is dead? Some of the elders who were standing outside exclaimed when they heard what Chang Yi said. Chang Yi's strength was considered one of the top amongst all the elders. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to represent the Deacon sect to participate in the Battle of Saints, the Yin Scroll's 9 secrets. He had also cultivated a large part of it. Within the same level, his combat strength was almost invincible. In other words, in the Mingan divine domain, who had the guts to do so? How dare you attack an elder of the Deacon sect? Could it be Lu Junyuan? A voice was heard. The anger in his voice couldn't be suppressed. Upon closer inspection, it was Mrs. Huang, who had gone to the Heaven Divine Mountain with Chang Yi. It can't be him, and it can't be the Heavenly Gon sect either. Elder Zhang and Lu Junyuan's strength were on par with each other. It was impossible for them to kill each other with just the Yin Scroll's secret arts and secret arts. Besides, the people of the Heavenly Gon sect specialized in cultivating yang energy. If it was them, they wouldn't even be able to enter the Deacon sect's gate. The old man who had spoken earlier spoke once again. His words caused all the elders to nod their heads in agreement. You must be powerful to be able to kill Chang Yi. You all must be careful. We won't be able to get rid of you. Elder Kui, we will depend on you. Zuo Channing narrowed his eyes. He didn't berate the voice below. He looked at the old man who had spoken earlier. Before his voice faded, the figure in the flames had already dispersed. The flames once again turned grayish-black. Don't worry, Sect Master Zuo. We can't allow a few bugs to act recklessly in the Deacon sect. The old man in the flame coughed a few times. His face was yellow, and he looked even weaker than before. He slightly cupped his hands toward the flame above. Everyone, seeing that the flames above had returned to normal, the old man's emotionless gaze swept across the figures in the flames surrounding him. He said slowly, there are only 2 reasons for outsiders to enter our Deacon sect. First, it's for the rare treasures that have been passed down in our Deacon sect for countless years. Second, it's for the Yin Scroll technique. Let me guess, the thief has killed Elder Zhang. It's highly likely that the Yin Scroll is the reason why they risked their lives to enter the Deacon sect. After saying that, the old man paused for a moment. The cold light in his eyes intensified. If they want the complete Yin Scroll, they will definitely attack the elders. Therefore, we are here. Of course, we can't rule out the first possibility. However, those pavilions that hid treasures were protected by formations. They wanted to use brute force to break through, but it would take a lot of time. We should be able to make it. However, we need to be prepared. Everyone, there are at least 2 elders in the Deacon sect. They are guarding the treasure pavilion, the compendium pavilion, and other important places in secret. If you encounter any intruders, you don't have to stay in battle. Quickly inform the others. The rest of the elders, follow me and set up an inescapable net around the Holy Yin Hall. Today, I, Kui Yu, will let the world know about the fury of the Deacon sect. At the end of his words, the old man's eyes were filled with endless fury. Cheng Yi's death in the Heaven Divine Mountain was undoubtedly a great humiliation. After arranging the order in an orderly manner, the elders didn't have any objections. One after another, the figures in the flames dispersed. Soon, the deep and cold hall once again fell into an endless silence. With our strength, if we meet an elder of the Deacon sect, we will be able to get rid of him before he can react. Also, we must not linger in battle. If we are discovered, we will die without a burial ground. Along the way, Profound Emperor reminded Xiao Yan in a soft voice once again. Xiao Yan nodded helplessly. He wished he could leave now. How could he continue fighting? On the contrary, he was worried that Profound Emperor might have a sudden impulse and put up a fight against hundreds of people. That would be fun. Don't look like that. It's like I'm forcing you. Nothing happened along the way. Profound Emperor was in the mood to joke. He looked at Xiao Yan's solemn face and said in a mocking tone. Hey! The corner of Xiao Yan's mouth twitched slightly. How could he not notice that this old fellow's skin was also so thick? Both of their auras were concealed. Under the cover of the clouds, they quickly flew towards the direction of the Holy Yin Hall. Not long after, the Holy Yin Hall that seemed to have pierced through the heavens and earth appeared in front of their eyes. Something is not right. Looking at the huge ancient hall that was quietly standing in the distance, Xiao Yan frowned and said with a serious expression. After absorbing half of the 1,000 Leaves ancient monarch fire, his soul power had reached an unprecedented height, and he had a vague feeling about his surroundings. Profound Emperor immediately stopped when he heard this. His aura had been concealed to the extreme. His cold eyes quickly swept across his surroundings. In front of him, the pavilions and pavilions that looked like stars and chests were unusually quiet. No one knew what kind of danger was hidden in them. Profound Emperor naturally wouldn't be careless when he was in a tiger's den. The moment he heard Xiao Yan's words, he stopped moving and the origin qi in his body began to churn. What did you discover? Pausing for a moment, Profound Emperor spoke softly. His voice formed a straight line and entered Xiao Yan's ears. I don't know what it feels like, but it's not good, Xiao Yan said. Xiao Yan also stopped his body. His expression was heavy. Spiritual energy surged out from between his brows, and he wanted to find out what was going on. There will naturally be many formations set up in this kind of damn place. Let's be careful. We will take one step at a time. Profound Emperor pondered for a moment and made up his mind. No matter what, he had left some trump cards. At most, he could escape in a sorry state. Xiao Yan nodded slightly. He didn't dare to go too deep into the Holy Yin Hall. He just released his soul energy around the Holy Yin Hall, but he didn't notice anything unusual. Could it be that he was being too cautious? He had to be careful. Xiao Yan followed Profound Emperor and slowly moved forward. His speed had slowed down a lot. Below him, there were many elite disciples of Deacon sect coming and going. It was a peaceful scene. In the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, they were less than 10 miles away from Holy Yin Hall. This was a forbidden area belonging to Deacon sect, and even elite disciples were not allowed to enter. Although there were numerous origin qi turbulents acting as guards, both of them were covered in pure yin origin qi. Hence, they were able to approach the Holy Yin Hall without suffering any injuries. Xiao Yan was in a trance as he looked at the towering hall in front of him. Suddenly, the sense of danger in his heart soared. In the next moment, from the highest point of Holy Yin Hall, a beam of black light shot down from the sky. In an instant, it illuminated a large area where Xiao Yan and Profound Emperor were standing. In an instant, the clouds dispersed and the two of them were completely exposed to the black light. Not good. The instant the black light shone down, Profound Emperor's expression changed drastically. His body swayed, and he was split into two. He rushed in different directions, and the instant he rushed out, he also grabbed Xiao Yan. He had only touched the black light for an instant. Kai! Profound Emperor cried out in pain the moment they met. His shoulder, which had been struck by the black light, felt an intense pain as if it had been burned by flames. The pain was unbearable. Anyone who dares to offend me will be killed without mercy. Suddenly, a cold voice sounded, full of killing intent. At the same time, numerous majestic origin chis surged out from the surroundings of Holy Yin Hall. Everyone's chi wasn't any weaker than Chang Yi's. So, I was waiting for you here. Profound Emperor sneered. He raised his head and saw an old man with a yellow face. He looked like a weakling who could not withstand the wind. He was looking at Profound Emperor with an emotionless expression. Standing next to Profound Emperor, Xiao Yan's expression was serious. His eyes quickly swept across the surroundings. When Xiao Yan looked around, he did not notice that his temples were moving abnormally.